Today I'm replacing an evaporator coil because of dirty sock syndrome. Every time this customer would turn the air conditioning on, it would smell like dirty socks or gym locker room. Big respect to my local Johnstone supplier here in Simpsonville, South Carolina, for getting the warranty process moving very quick and very swift. And shout out to York for covering this coil under warranty. This coil was only 4 years old. Not only did they cover the coil under warranty, they paid to have it treated by Bronze Glow, which is a company out of Florida, to prevent dirty sock syndrome from ever happening again. I'm going to remove the service panel so we can access the controls. I'm going to go ahead and begin the pump down process. The main objective here is to pump all of the refrigerant into the condenser, so whenever we cut the lines, there's no refrigerant left. First, I'm going to close the liquid line valve, and that forces the compressor to pump the remaining refrigerant from the vapor line and the indoor coil back into the condenser. Once the liquid line is closed, we will go ahead and turn the air conditioning on. Best practice is to actually turn it on at the thermostat, but in my case, I decided to just push the contactor in so the customer did not have to smell the dirty sock smell. I'm monitoring the suction pressure here, and once it pulls down close to zero, I'll close the suction valve and shut the system off. I wasn't able to pump the entire charge back into the condenser, so we're going to recover the remaining refrigerant out of the lines. Once the recovery process was over with, I ended up getting 15 ounces of refrigerant out of the line set, so I know what to add back once I'm ready to start the system up. Here's a pro tip. When refrigerant is recovered, you never truly know the history of that recovery cylinder. Even when refrigerant is recycled, cross-contamination can happen. So because of that, I do not like reintroducing recovered refrigerant into a system that I'm adding refrigerant to. I now am going to remove the evaporator coil, the exhaust vent pipe, and in my case, the gas line, because the installers ran the gas line right in front of the coil. I started to slide the coil out and realized the gas line was in the way. So I told the homeowner I had to go shut the gas off, and I was asking him what other appliances does he have in the house that is gas, so I know what gas lines to bleed after I turn the main gas line back on. This is me realizing that there was no TXV, so I'm going to go to the supply house to pick up another valve. I could have maybe reused the old one, but honestly, whoever installed it must have used some kind of Loctite because I could not get it off. You'll see me sand the vapor line here so I have a clean joint to braze on. Removing the old valve and installing the new valve. Make sure that you use new O-rings. And if I have any kind of threaded joint, I always use Nylog. Once the valve is on, now it's time to bring the coil up into the attic and get started with the process of installing the new evaporator coil. Peep that TXV bulb waving at us. My GoPro battery actually ended up dying on me, so I did not get the process of me sliding the new coil in place, but I did struggle just a little bit because of the weight of the coil and getting it into its channel. I'm now going to start piecing everything back together and get ready to brace the coil back in place. Since I just made a trip out to the truck and I'm getting close to brazing, I'm going to go ahead and hook up my nitrogen tank, remove the liquid line Schrader valve, and we're going to start sweeping nitrogen from the vapor line all the way up to the evaporator coil and back out to the liquid line service port. That's why we remove the Schrader on the liquid line so we don't build up pressure. We are going to sweep nitrogen for a good 60 seconds or so, and then we're going to put it on about 3 psi, and we're going to flow nitrogen while brazing.
I always recommend deburring any copper that you cut and just be cautious of the shavings. We definitely do not want those getting back into the line set. So make sure when you're deburring, you have the pipe tilted to where the shavings will fall out. I'm going to apply some Viper wet rag to my liquid line that is going into the TXV to help protect that TXV from overheating during the process of me brazing. Now it's time for some fire. This is probably my favorite part as a technician. As you can see, I've fought with this gas line pretty much all day, but it seems like on every single job, there is always an obstacle to overcome. Remember, we are purging nitrogen, so I'm going to start with my suction line because that's the service port I have my nitrogen hooked to. And then we will work our way to the liquid line. I did not get this part on video, but I went back outside, reinstalled a brand new liquid line Schrader valve, and now I'm pressurizing the system with 200 psi of nitrogen, and I'm going to spray the joints that I just brazed with Big Blue or any kind of soapy, non-corrosive soap bubbles. I'm also spraying the joints on my TXV to make sure that they're not leaking. And I'm going to go ahead and let this pressure test sit for minimum 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and sand down where I'm going to mount my TXV bulb. It's time to grab my vacuum pump, my vacuum hose, and go check on my pressure test. The pressure test held 200 psi for 13 minutes. After spraying it down with bubble spray, I feel very confident we do not have a leak. Make note, whenever I remove my suction line hose, a little bit of liquid refrigerant comes out. I'm going to go ahead and remove the Schrader valve out of the vapor line. I'm going to hook my Apion tool onto the vapor service port and keep the Schrader valves out during the vacuum process. I run a one hose setup on my vacuum pump. I put my micron gauge on the liquid side, straight on the liquid service port. And I attach my vacuum hose straight to my vacuum pump and straight to the 5/16 service port on the vapor line. Go ahead and start my vacuum pump with the vent open until about 1,000 microns, and then close the vent on the vacuum pump. After about 10 minutes of my vacuum pump running, my pump only pulled down to about 1,100 microns, so I knew that I most likely did not have a leak. I decided to go ahead and replace the O-rings in my vacuum gauge. And since I have my vacuum gauge removed, I hook up some nitrogen just to sweep some nitrogen through the system. Close the valve on the Apion tool. Start sweeping your nitrogen through the high side, and then open the valve on the actual Apion tool attached to the vapor line. Push high pressure nitrogen through the system for a solid 30 seconds to 1 minute. Once that's complete, go ahead and set up your vacuum pump just like you had it set up before. Go ahead and mount the TXV bulb. Mount with the metal clip that comes with the TXV valve. And please don't be that guy that mounts it with zip ties. And it's also very important that the bulb is insulated. After the bulb is insulated, we're going to attach the exhaust vent pipe. I recommend using primer before you glue your pipe. There's been so many times over the years that I've seen 2 or 3 inch PVC pipe not primed or primer not used, and over time that pipe will leak. I think I mentioned earlier that I was attaching the TXV bulb, but I'm doing it now using the metal clip that was supplied with the kit. And that kit normally comes with foam tape. Once again, this is a very important step. The bulb must be insulated. Make sure your vapor line and your PVC drains are insulated, especially if that drain is in an attic. So we're just going to finish up some final touches in the attic. All of my GoPro batteries died before the job was complete. So I didn't get to actually record what my vacuum pump had pulled down to, but I decided to go ahead and valve off my Apion tool and start my decay test after my micron gauge was reading 250 microns. And my goal on the decay test is for the micron gauge to not rise above 500 microns for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I'm fine with it. Now, after the decay test, we're ready to open up our service valves. And don't forget the refrigerant that we removed from the system when we recovered it. And since we have a TXV as our metering device, I verified my subcooling. And this homeowner is ready to rock and roll. He knew immediately, as soon as we turned the air conditioning on, there was no smell present.